Yeah, Megtooth Monday live. See, we got two people here, and I got a couple projects to unveil to my live audience. Stuff, if you guys have been watching me live, stuff that is now ready to roll. And I guess I should start off with this one. This is a Phoenix Props 7-chamber Star Killer, and I kind of wanted to show you guys something. So I want to take the back of the chassis off. The 3D printed chassis, they look like this. I know the lights are kind of blowing that out, but they look rather plain. This is a Goth 3 Designs chassis. This camera quality sucks. By the way, I looked into streaming on a different camera, and I have a bunch of stuff I have to buy, so you're still stuck with this crappy camera for a while until I buy that other stuff. But this is a Goth 3D chassis for this Saber. Bam! That's what she looks like now. So you can see, this is the exact same chassis. You can see what a difference, all the work makes. And by the way, this one is installed with Profi 2.2. I don't know if you can see it in there. There she is. And this one also has a 1.3 millimeter recharge port here. And the cool part about that with this Saber is I built a 2.1 millimeter to 1.3 millimeter adapter. So if somebody has a normal plug, they can just use the normal plug that they already have. So it does have a recharge port. It's a semi-permanently installed battery in that one. This is a custom Saber Shop 15-amp cut off. Try to rotate the battery so you can see the sticker. You can see the custom Saber Shop sticker there. But this thing is installed, so let's boot her up. And I wanted to show y'all. I put basically a battery indicator LED on there, which is pretty awesome. And of course, the crystal chamber on this one, and the crystal pulses when the Saber's in idle. This one has the proplicator inserts in the crystal chamber, the full polished brass inserts. That's buku dinero. And also I've added this Darth Chasm conduit. This Darth Chasm conduit in there. I know it looks uneven, but it's a Star Killer hilt. And also this Star Killer hilt's been custom weathered by me. I'm putting the bottom on so you guys can see this thing roll. Also the blade plug. Oh yeah. Blade plug lights up too. You see that blade plug light up there when it's not facing directly into the lights. Now, the cool part about this one, I'm going to go back upon.
Vader's assassin.
Is it has color changing. Of course it has effects. Of course it has effects changing too. But that is the Phoenix Prop 7 Chambers Star Killer done. I'll let y'all see that chassis again. Y'all have seen the build progress on this in the last 3 weeks of live videos. But there is the chassis, which is rust weathered to match the hilt. That's a Goth 3D chassis. And it does have battery PLI in neopixels underneath the chassis. So this saber is pretty cool. It's got an on-off switch, but it also has a 1.3 millimeter recharge port. Very, very cool saber. So that thing's done. This is going to be up for sale once I shoot the YouTube video on it, with or without a blade, and comes with the illuminated blade plug that I made for it out of the factory blade plug. And of course it'll all come in the Phoenix Prop 7 chambers box. But that is an awesome saber, ladies and gentlemen. That thing is awesome. I just wanted y'all to see
Vader's assassin.
The amount of work it takes to take these 3D printed chassis and turn them into something. You know, you can just plug them into the saber and use them as is, but you know, you really have to try and make them into something to make them work out. The second saber, bam, it is installed. Now I haven't finalized the install yet. The battery is still loose in there because I haven't affixed it, but it's got a user replaceable 18650 battery in there, and the Profi is up in here. Now what I'm thinking about doing, I gotta test it, and I left enough slack wire so that the battery can come out so you can get at the Profi. But what I'm thinking about doing is trying to put that on some sort of a hinge or something. If not, you know, you can still get at that Profi. But this thing is installed. I'm going to put the hatches back on. Bam. And let's see. I even made a little quillion for it today. Let me put it on the other side. The other side's a little bit tighter. I gotta get that quillion just right. Bam. And then let's drop a main blade in there too while we're at it. Oh yeah, I don't have the other quillions in yet. This one's got the, that's Bowery's fire blade. Hang on a minute. Let's get this one too. I think this one has localized lockup. Oh yeah. And the quillion's not affected. See if I get the local lockup. See the local lockup in the reflection behind me over my right eye? That was pretty awesome to say right there. And the quillion's not affected by blasters or lockup.
You two have a great many.
Kind of thing. I want.
Eventually this one's going to have color changing on it and everything too, but I haven't built the other quillion for it yet, but I did build this one. It's not fully diffused yet. I just did the rough draft on it. So there is the Proplicator quillion for the 4-man crossguard. And again, that's going to be up for sale pretty soon too. Once I get the YouTube video posted on it. I don't know if I'll have it up for sale in time for Christmas, but I hope somebody wants that thing for Christmas. If I can get the YouTube video, get the quillions done on it, that thing will be up for sale this week. So that's that. Now the next big project I'm working on is this. So if anybody saw my most recent YouTube video, it was just a quick and dirty video, and I didn't really publish it on YouTube for anyone in particular. It was mainly for Frederick. He's working on the Profi OS 3.3 right now, and we're working on the blaster effects for Profi 3.3. You guys want to see a mess? Look at this. This is my blaster experimentation setup on Profi for Frederick. It's all there. It's insane. I know it's insane. Just bear with me. But if you go and check out that video, you'll see that video. But not many viewers tonight. Might not be hitting on a lick. That's cool because I need to go running with my dog anyway. So Megtooth Sith need to lose some weight. But at any rate, that's those two sabers, which is pretty awesome. They're done, and after I get this EE3 blaster installed, once we work all the blaster prop file out on Profi, then I may install the which saber is that? The Phoenix Props Ben Solo saber. I may install that one. So that one could be one of my next ones. But nobody's got a lot of questions tonight. The light. But at any rate, that's that. So, we're losing viewers. What am I wearing around my neck? Well, I'll tell you. In addition to making sabers, another thing that keeps me busy I also make these Micom sound rigs. And I put the link on the very first comments in the stream. It's facebook.com/Micom sound rig or /Micom sound rig. And we make these, and basically we make these for cosplayers, and it's basically got a button board that you wear underneath your glove. This is mine. So you got a button board that you wear underneath your glove, and it's got 8 triggers, and it's programmed to do some cool stuff. Here, I'll show you. So I'm going to plug it into our battery bank that we send with each unit. Bam. And I'm going to plug it into my amp. And there's the little rig. It's pretty cool. I'm going to turn the amp on. And this is what it does.
Take your place. I have been expecting you. No. As you wish. You would do well to join us in our destruction of the Rebel Alliance. Do not underestimate our reach. If you betray us, we will find you. Your allegiance is acknowledged. Rise and go forward to give service to the Empire. Stand here by my side. The dark side welcomes you. You may approach. That kind of question will arouse suspicion. Take care what you ask and to whom. As you wish.
So it's a pretty cool little sound rig. A lot of the cosplayers wear these little amps underneath their costumes. I know I wear one with Kylo, and we basically have templates for the Micoms for. We started with Kylo Ren for the Micoms, and then we got Darth Vader, and then we got Stormtrooper TK. We also do TFA Stormtroopers, and then we did Jawas, and working on Boba Fett template and Chewie. So we've got quite a few characters on the Micom. So, when I'm not soldering on sabers, I'm soldering on those Micom units, and keeps me busy. keeps me busy. So a lot of we got into it the other week. We were going to ask. Let me share that later. But the other week, I got into starting to talk about why I do this. Why do I make lightsabers? Who really cares, to be honest, number one. But, I feel like talking about it. So when I make lightsabers, my job is very stressful. And when I come home and I'm looking to get rid of that stress, soldering on these little microscopic soundboards and figuring out wire routes is very stress relieving because you're so focused on those small little tasks and making them work that the stress of your day or whatever problems you had tend to melt away. So that's always pretty cool to to relieve stress. That's an awesome thing for me. Sweet tea hit a bad time. Anybody got any questions? I got some more we can talk about. One thing we can talk about is one of the most common questions I get. I know a lot of people will watch this later, so if you watch this later, comment down in the comments. I'll publish this to my page. But a lot of people will email me and ask me how much does it cost to install a saber? Well, how much does a Ferrari cost? How much does a Corvette cost? How much does a Volkswagen cost? How much does a Ford truck cost? How much does a Cybertruck cost? Who knows? That's a complicated question. Which engine do you want in your Ferrari or your Lamborghini or your Ford truck? Do you want leather seats? Do you want cloth seats? So asking how much is a lightsaber install is a generic question, impossible for me to answer. If you're new to the hobby, it would probably behoove you to go to the Custom Saber Shop's YouTube page and watch a lot of their videos. Yeah, Space Windu options. Yeah, what do you want on your saber? Space Windu knows. But a lightsaber can be fairly cheap on an install. If you want a no frills install, you just want a MHS V6 chassis shoved in your Ultra Sabers that you bought, and I can pretty much fit any soundboard on that MHS V6 chassis, which is out of stock right now at the Custom Saber Shop. But that's a cheap and easy install right there. And then you want NeoPixels or you want InHill. I mean, all those options cost different amounts of money. So how much does a lightsaber cost is not a very good question. It's like this. So this Starkiller hilt, there it is, Space, and it's installed, by the way. This has got Propy 2.2 in it, and it does color changing too. It's got the Proplicator. Talking about options. This one has the Proplicator full brass insert in it and Darth Chasm conduit, which is awesome. This is NeoPixel. Now, the funny thing about this is I am driving the crystal chamber with a normal 5mm RGB LED. But the cool part about Propy is it can take the signal for RGB and interpret that to match the NeoPixel effects, like including
Kylo Ren.
Oh yeah.
Imperial
Let me back up one.
Kylo Ren.
So this is Fireblade, and you can see it even does the Fireblade in the crystal chamber, so that's different. So here I did a pulsing Fireblade, which is crazy, but when you ignite it, you get the actual Fireblade on a normal RGB LED, but you also see it's in the NeoPixel blade plug here. And to show you it's RGB, the next spot is Imperial Knight, which is a white blade. It's blowing out the camera. That's bright.
I'm from the Resistance. Your sister Leia sent me. We need your help.
this one's color changing or not. Oh yeah, color changing. Yeah, so Profi does color changing now. This is still using Matt McGurry's mods. So the color changing is a little bit different than Frederick's getting ready to implement. On Frederick's, you kind of turn it like you do on CFX, but I kind of like how Matt McGurry implemented color changing. So when you swing the saber, you get color change. I think that was pretty cool. But this saber, this is another thing. You know, when you get these hilts, this is a hilt kit from Phoenix Prop 7 Chambers. And when you get these, they're all shiny and they're brand new. They just came out of the machine shop. And Star Killer was not shiny and new. It was nasty. And the cool part about the Phoenix Props hilts is the emitter was stainless steel. So I actually put this out on my workbench and hit it with a torch so it got that heat staining. And somebody was asking in the last video, what is heat staining? You see how it looks blue and orange and red and different colors in it? That's from heat stain. That's, you know, it takes a lot of work to weather these sabers to look like this. And then this rust on here is actual rust. I used an iron paint and then I oxidized it artificially with acid. I mean, aluminum doesn't rust. This whole chassis is made out, this whole hilt's made out of aluminum, but the way I've weathered it, it makes it looks like steel. It's awesome. It has rust on it just like steel. This one's got the dark chasm conduit, the proplicator internals and guts, and the, I don't know if you can see the dark chasm conduit in there too. And I know it looks uneven, but it's a Star Killer. It came out exactly how I wanted it. But the weathering, you know, between the aluminum black and the artificial rust, and you know, different techniques that it takes to make a brand new lightsaber look like this is complicated. How much does that cost? Well, how many hours does it take? You know, this saber is a project that's been a couple of months in the works. This isn't something that I just got and installed in a day. It's going to be expensive. Yeah, there's 2 buttons in the box. This is main, this is auxiliary, and they're just standard tactile buttons. And, you know, they were painted gold, but the paint's worn off. So that's your main, and that's your auxiliary.
Skywalker.
So, you know, oh, and by the way, there's a pulsing green. So I've got it set so it's pulsing when off. I didn't even show you I might as well show you the chassis space since you're here. Nobody else is here. It's just me in space. It was like me on your stream the other night. Also, I put some NeoPixels in the chassis here, and this is actually the battery meter. So it tells you, you know, how much battery you've got left. This is the GAW 3D chassis. It's got the high amp kill switch, but it's also got a 1.3 millimeter recharge port in the custom Saber Shop 15 amp cutoff 18650, and it's got the TCS WOW speaker in it. This thing is pretty awesome. This saber is, you know, probably one of my favorite installs. It came out really good. It's running Profi 2.2, so it has deep sleep. So the funny thing is I got to cycle through the fonts here. So
Light. Something.
The weapon is ready for deployment.
Vader's assassin.
okay, so on the first font, I did not have the crystal pulsing, and I also didn't have the battery meter going in the NeoPixel accents. Yeah, well, this microphone sucks on my computer space. It kind of filters out the hum and makes it sound like the hum disappears, but it doesn't. But I don't have the NeoPixel accents going on font 1, or I don't have a pulsing blade on font 1. And the reason I did that is so you can add, because Profi 2.2 has quasi deep sleep now, as long as you don't have accent LEDs going. So the first font on this Saber, I actually configured it so it doesn't have any live accent LEDs going, either in the chassis or the crystal chamber, but it works. When you shut it down, nothing's going. So it's not using any electricity. It goes into a quasi deep sleep mode, and you can get your battery voltage
4.12 volts.
by pressing the aux button when it's off. But that Saber is awesome. It's such an awesome Saber. The config file for this, the fonts, the weathering, the chassis. I mean, this thing came out great. And then I know I don't think you were here, Space, but also finished a crossguard this week. This is a Corbant crossguard version 2. And hang on a minute, because I got to ignite it so I can get this. There we go.
Luke Skywalker.
Vengeance. Light. Time.
Light industry to vibroblade.
Hit my switch.
It's corruption. It's corruption.
Dang it, I keep doing that. All right, here we go. Now I double clicked it so it muted. Stand by. This one's got localized lockup. So watching the reflection behind me, like right over here, watch the localized lockup on the blade. And it does not affect the quillions. So the lockup does not affect the quillions, just the main blade. Quillions stay red. Now what's really crazy about Proppy Space is
It's what you do. Kind of thing. Luke Skywalker.
Vengeance. Light.
Light industry to vibroblade. Cyber project.
So I don't know if this camera's going to be able to see this. You can actually have 2 different color quillions. So my main blade's running a rainbow blade. You can see there, look at the reflection behind me in the poster. So my main blade's running rainbow, and the side quillion's running green. Let me take this side quillion out, plug it in on the other side. It's running red over here. See it? Isn't that crazy? That's the cool part about having all the data lines with Proppy is you can make it do crazy, crazy stuff. And put it back in over here where it's green. So it's green on that side. The main blade is rainbow blade, and then this quillion will be red. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff with it. Look at the reflection. It's a candy cane with green and red. Yeah, I know. It's a pain in the rear to work with, but once you learn how to do it, it's insane. Look at this blade. Can you see it in the reflection? It's a red, white, and blue blade. And so the quillion on this one, blue and red. I wish I had the other quillion so I could show you guys. This thing is nuts.
The balance.
Oh, that's my lightning blade. That blade is crazy. And then the battery blade shows you how much battery you got charged in the quillion and in the back to funnel 1, which is Frederick's original fire blade with delayed ignition. Watch that again. Yeah, I know. You can take this thing out on the 4th of July. Huh. I'm too cool for Jennifer Gardner. You wish, Jen. Me and Jen, we're going to go exercise. We need to be skinny like Space Windu. Or I'm working on it. I'm bald like Space Windu, just not skinny. But Space, this is a crossguard on this is crazy. Listen. See that begin lock and end lock? That's crazy. So the install on this one, it's not yet finished, but this is the removable 18650 right below the hatch, and then the Proppy and the programming port are there. And I've left enough slack wire that we'll be able to get the battery slid out to program the property. But really, to be honest with you, if somebody's not happy with my program and something's wrong with them. And this is going to have color changing in it too. So you'll be able to color change a couple of blades and style change. You can actually it's just like in CFX space, there's a fork that we're working, and you can actually have style changing or color changing on the fly now. And that's all coming to the main OS too, but that's all done. I know. Yeah, well, Jennifer just left the gym. I need to go walking. Hey, Space, did you ever see this one? My nihilist silt. This one's crazy too with NeoPixel. Crazy stuff. We tried to make 7/8 clear NeoPixel blade. Wondering what kind of diffusion it would take. Yes, I have. As a matter of fact, I am staring at one right now. Hang on. Oh, that's a 1-inch clear. I do have a 7/8 inch clear here somewhere. Stand by. So here is a 7/8 inch clear blade from Clear Blade Stock at the Custom Saber Shop. And I diffuse these kind of similar to Space. What I do is, no. So when I make my 7/8 inch blades, I use the Clear Blade Stock, and then I use the thick-walled 1-inch. This is going to sound crazy. The thick-walled 1-inch TCSS strip diffuser is a plastic tube that fits down inside here. I'm trying to see if I have any here to show you what it looks like. I don't think I do. I have some 1-inch. So this is the strip diffuser tube from TCSS. And this is what it looks like. It's white, but it actually goes inside the clear material like that. And that's how you can diffuse NeoPixels. That's one of the steps. So number one is I use 35-35 strips, which I talked about that in one of my previous videos, but hell, I got them right here. So just stand by. I'll show you. Let's see. There's some 35-35s and there's some 50-50s. Okay. So, yeah. So this is a 35-35 strip, and I'll explain the difference. And this is a 50-50 strip. Pretty much everybody's using these 50-50s. Look at the width difference in those. This is a 50-50 strip, and this is a 35-35 strip. I use 35-35s, and the reason it's called 35-35 is because I'm trying to get it to show up on that camera, but this camera sucks. These strips, the NeoPixels, are 3.5 millimeters wide, whereas on the thicker strips, the NeoPixels are 5 millimeters wide. Trying to get the camera to see that. God, this camera sucks. You can, oh, there we go. Finally coming in. So the skinny strips are the 35-35s, and the bigger ones are the 50-50s. Now, I use, in a 7/8 inch blade, I use the 35-35. In fact, in all my blades, I use 35-35 strips. I think 50-50s are a waste. So I take these 35-35 strips, and oh yeah, well, the 50-50s are chunky, and you're trying to fit the 50-50s in a 7/8 and diffuse them. Good luck. They look like crap. I had built a 50-50 strips in a 7/8 inch blade. It doesn't work. You have to use 35-35 strips. There was a bunch of crap on the internet about 35-35s. I use them. So basically what I do is, if you look at KR Saber's tutorial on how to make a NeoPixel strip, I kind of do what he does. And I take these NeoPixels, and at the very beginning, when I put them back to back, I stagger the NeoPixels. So you see how there's like a blank spot here? On the other side, I make sure the other NeoPixel is in that blank spot. And that's how I put them back to back. I run a single data line across both data pads. And then, hell, just watch my lightsaber blade building tutorial. I'll show you how I did it. But at any rate, after I have the 35-35s back to back, Then I'll take 1/2 inch clear shrink wrap and slide it down over them, and then I shrink up the shrink wrap onto the strips, and then I actually sand the shrink wrap. Now I think Space actually uses a couple layers of shrink on his, like 2 or 3 layers of shrink. I only use one. So I use the shrink wrap, sand the shrink wrap with like 400 grit sandpaper to rough it up, and that's my first layer of diffusion is the clear shrink. And then after that, I wrap the shrink wrap strips in cellophane until they're tight in the TCSS V2 foam. And I think Space Window uses Makoto foam, but I don't know how to get Makoto foam, so I'm just using the Custom Saber Shop V2 7/8 foam. And I wrap that combination in clear cellophane until it's very, until it's tight going into the foam. You actually have to inchworm. You have to inchworm the strips into the foam. That's when you know they're tight enough. And I show how to do that in my video. I do have a video on how to build a blade, and I actually built a 7/8 inch blade in that video. But anyway, after I get the strips inside the foam, so it's strips, clear, shrink wrap, cellophane, TCSS V2 foam, and then after that, I wrap in more cellophane until it's tight inside of the strip diffuser tube, inside the 7/8 inch blade. Bam. And then once that's done, bada bing, bada boom, that's my recipe basically. Without going into too much gory detail, that's how I build my 7/8 inch blades. So I think, a lot of people will tell you, you'll get on the internet and the Facebook heroes will, oh, well, the 35s are no good and you lose brightness at the end because the PCB is, oh yeah, yeah, you need to watch my video. It's, 7/8 inch blades are a tough builds. There's not that many people doing them, but I do them. I do them in trans white and I do them in clear blades. I know Space is kind of partial to trans white, but I'll do them in clear or trans white. The trans whites actually look really good if you get them diffused right. But don't listen to the internet heroes about the 35s, because the funny thing is all these guys that vaunt the 50/50 strips, well, they're all trimming them so they're narrower because they understand the problem with these strips, the 50/50s, and I'll put them up to the camera so you guys can see them. You can see how much wider the 50/50s are. Well, what causes the problems on the 50/50s is because these strips are so wide, you get a lot of shadowing. Well, you get a lot of vertical shadowing in the blade because the light can't make it all the way around this wide strip. Whereas on the 35/35 strips, which are narrower, more light gets around your diffusion to the other side of the blade. So the 35/35s are much more, they have less shadowing, number one. Number two, when you stagger the 35/35s, you really kind of break up any shadowing there is, and it gives you this real beautiful, even illuminated blade all the way down. Now, there are some naysayers that say, well, the 35/35s, because it's a smaller PCB, that you're missing voltage on getting down your saber. And therefore, you get a massive voltage drop off from your first NeoPixel to your last. And so the blade's a different color on the tip than it is at the base. And they vaunt this, but at the same time, the same guys that tout using the 50/50s are also trimming them to make them narrower. But when they're trimming these strips, they're also getting rid of a lot of the PCBs that are what they're vaunting carries the voltage. And the bottom line is they're trimming them down to the size of a 35/35. And if you've ever trimmed NeoPixel strips, then you'll understand why the benefits of 50/50s just aren't there. In my opinion, 35/35s are the way to go. Yeah, Space. I mean, most of my blades are 34 inches, 34 and a half. Um, yeah, I know. A lot of guys that are wanting 36-inch blades, I'm like, "Ugh." Actually, you know what the funny thing is? Corband wanted a 36-inch blade in his Graflex that I installed for him. But I think 35/35 strips are the way to go when you're making NeoPixel blades, and that's whether you're making 1-inch blades or 7/8. Space has his own recipe. I know he uses more heat shrink than I do. And then the funny thing about that is Dimitri Stock, he hates that shrink rate because he says it's not allowing any heat out. And he wraps his strips in cellophane And I'm like, well, the cellophane is, yeah, I know. Shorter is definitely a better blade style. A 34-inch blade, you got an 1.5-inch blade socket, that's about perfect for me. So pretty much most of my blades are 34.5 inches, something in that range. That for my sabers. But when we're talking about the the diffusion, shrink wrap versus cellophane around the strips, when you put cellophane around the strips, that's just as airtight as shrink wrap. And when the shrink wrap closes around the strips, it doesn't like melt solid onto the strips. It melts around the strips like this. So you still have venting, just like you do on the cellophane. And the funny thing is I've got blades that I built back in 2017 when NeoPixels were first developing, and those blades are still running. There's nothing wrong with them. So, all that mumbo jumbo about don't use heat shrink and you're going to melt your NeoPixels and they're going to overheat and 3535s are no good. All that crap is internet cowboy stuff. Bottom line is mine are working great. There's no problems on the way I build my blades. And I want to do a disclaimer here because if anybody's seen my thick-walled NeoPixel uh, blade demonstration where I was beating it against a tree, I want to caution everybody. That was not a thin wall blade. That was a thick walled, specially made NeoPixel blade at a custom saber shop's 1-inch thick walled blade stock. And I built that blade to be super tough. There's no room for the NeoPixels to wiggle around inside of there. There's tons of insulation around the NeoPixels. They're totally tight inside of there. I even hardened my wiring at the base on the blade adapter and how the wires go onto the NeoPixels. So that whole install, that whole blade was hardened. And I actually ordered some more thick wall blade stock in case anybody wants one of those hardened blades. I can do one. But anyway, Space, I want to show you something. I don't know if you're still here or not, but I don't know if you ever saw that one. This is a crazy saber here. This is my Darth Nihilus built. Hang on a second. Watch what this section does once I fire it. And I'm controlling it with my phone here. And then when you turn it off, they spool down. Yeah, so this is a custom Nihilus that I built. And hang on, let me put my kill key back in it. I'll show you the whole saber. The whole saber is kind of humongous just because of the way I had to build it. So this is all made from the custom saber shop MHS parts, except for the chassis is Goth 3D. But all the crystal chamber and all that stuff, that's all homemade out of custom saber shop. So I'm gonna put the bottom of the hilt back on, and this one has a Dark Side Engineering razor blade plug in it too. Thing is pretty much the bomb. So there is that Nihilus saber there, which that's what you can do with modular hilt system from the custom saber shop. And I added some extra pipe and stuff. Got a recharge port right there. And this is running Profi. This is normal swing space. The cool one is Necro. Oop, didn't want to do that.
Vengeance.
Necro.
having problems with the main button on this one. Delayed reaction. But anyway, that's my Nihilus, and that was the one you saw the guts on the inside. Eventually, I would like to rework the saber, redo the guts, and redo the buttons. There's the buttons that I did on that one. I'd like to maybe build another one. I don't know. Maybe reinstall what I did there, but that was all handmade, homemade. Somebody asked me how much it would cost to make one of those, and I was like, yeah, that one will be expensive. No problem, Scott. Hope that helps you build your blade. Huh. Yeah, that's my Nihilus saber. But yeah, lots going on. We built, I finished doing the Phoenix Prop 7 chambers. I got this thing in the works, which this one's going to be powered by Profi with NeoPixel propagation and a Tri-Curie red blue for the blaster, and working on the Profi files for that as we speak, and that's going to be cool. We get that blaster up and running. But the Phoenix Prop 7 chamber Star Killer is done. The install on that is done, and the install is done on the crossguard with Profi. So made a lot of progress this week, and life is going good. It'll be even better once I ship these sabers out. That the Phoenix Props has been like waiting on parts for it, and stuff didn't fit. And I've done 3 of those Phoenix Props 7 chamber Star Killers now, and now that I know how to build them, I can build them better. But man, I was a little bit surprised at some of the unfriendly install parts of those 2 hilts, the 7 chambers Phoenix Prop Star Killer. But things are progressing swimmingly on my installs. Anybody else have any questions? Who else is out there? Space, what are you working on? I don't know what Scott's. Major? Yeah. You want to see a major Graphics build? I got one for you. It's in this box. Now, I've installed a lot of Graphlexes. A lot. But, of course, TGS, Graplex, this is going to be like my dream saber. Look at this blade holder. This is my blade holder. That's a Solos Hold special edition blade holder. And then the chassis that I have for it is all, there's my grip guides. But my chassis is a here's one of my chassis parts. It's an all metal Mentor chassis. So I'm working on that. Oh yeah, teacup, no problem. Yeah. Oh, hey, look at there. Looky what I found. You never know what you're going to find when you go into boxes. I found more 35 strips. I didn't even know I had those. Awesome. But at any rate, this is the Mentor chassis that's going in this saber. And it's insane. Like here's kind of the back of the chassis, roughly. That's going into this Graplex. It is just going to be sick. This Mentor chassis is just going to be crazy sick. Yeah, I'm working on it. This is nuts. So just the chassis. People ask me, well, how much are these lightsabers? Well, let me tell you. So the TGS replica, unblemished. Right off the bat, there's $200. The oh yeah, no problem, Mad Matt. That's awesome. Um, people are like, well, how much does a saber cost? Just for instance, that saber, it's a TGS replica, the Graplex shop replica, $200 just for the hilt. The blade holder was like $150. The chassis was over $1,000. I haven't even started with batteries and speakers and switches and all the little micro connectors for the speakers. I mean, when I finish that Graplex shop replica, I mean, that's going to be like just in parts cost, you know, $3,000 probably, something like that. And, I've been collecting parts for that for over a year. It's just, I buy a little bit here and a little bit there. But man, to sell that saber, high dollar stuff. Ain't no way. Um, so when people are like, there's a big difference between, a plastic 3D printed chassis, which I can paint these and make them look good. But there's a huge difference between a plastic 3D printed chassis and an all metal chassis. I mean, just that price difference, like an all metal chassis, even in a Graplex 2.0, like the Goth's Master chassis for a Graplex 2.0, all in metal, they pay $800 or $900 for the chassis, and then $200 for the hilt. You're already at $1,100, and you haven't even added a soundboard or the NeoPixel adapters or switches or wires or battery or speaker. What do you want? What do you want in your Ferrari? You want the V? You want the? Or what do you want in your Lamborghini? The V12 or the straight six? It's up to you. Speed is just a matter of money. How fast do you want to go? But that's always a difficult question to answer. Is how much for a lightsaber? Which saber? Which chassis? Which soundboard? NeoPixel or handheld LEDs? You got to know all that stuff. But I appreciate everyone that watches videos. So look, I have decided tonight, after I go exercising with my dog, and of course after I call my girlfriend, we both had a bad day, is I'm going to try and work on updated Profi tutorial videos for the Profi 2.2s now that they're out, because I've seen a lot of people already making mistakes on them. There is really Teensy Saber, Profi, and Profi 2.2 are all the same. They're only different in your mind. They're all the same. So if you've ever done a Teensy Saber or Profi 1.5, you can do Profi 2.2. It's exactly the same. The config files are a little bit different for Profi 2.2 because it calls for the Profi 2.2 programming at the top of your config file. And then you have to make sure in Arduino that you're using, that you're programming for a Profi 2.2 Saber, or else it'll be all screwy. That's really the only difference. But I'll do a tutorial on the whole kit and kaboom. So I have something new that's out there, because I know a bunch of guys are working on the Profi 2.2s. You don't even have to write your own blades anymore. Fernando De Rosa's got mad blade websites all over the place, and I'll post all of Fernando De Rosa's. If I said Matt De Rosa, I'm sorry, I meant Fernando De Rosa. I'll post Fernando's links all in my tutorial pages, because you don't even need to write blades. Fernando's already written them. I still pray, Fernando, if you ever see this, I need you to redo my lightning blade so it has localized lockup and force lightning lockup. That'd be crazy. Lightning blade with force lightning lockup. That would be awesome. But I'm gonna do that stuff. But here in a bit, I'm gonna go exercising with my dog, because he's stir crazy, aren't you, Risky? Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. He won't come here. He's stir crazy, but he needs exercise. He needs exercise. Come here. Come here. Come here, buddy. You can just see his paw. He needs exercise. Why are your feet so cold? What did you do? His feet are cold. but we're gonna go exercise. But at any rate, me and Risky bid you guys good night, and thank you for dropping in. And good luck, Mad Matt, getting your crystal chamber to hold in. And later space, looking forward to your next live video with the crew. Scott, good luck on making your blade. Hopefully you get the 35-35 strips. And anybody else that watches this after I publish it, hope something we talked about here tonight helps somebody. Roger that, space, will do. Hope the video helps somebody here tonight. And it's not spoken for yet. I haven't even really advertised it yet. Usually, once I publish my YouTube video, then I'll put a price on it. Have a good night, space. We'll catch you guys in the crew, hopefully on your next vid. If I'm home, I watch your vids. So, if I'm subscribed and belled and all to you. Which, speaking of, if you're watching this video, please like and subscribe and hit that bell notification button so you know when I am going to be streaming, which is going to be pretty much every Monday night, either 6 or 7 p.m. Because it's basically the only night I'm ever home. Because other than that, I'm with Jen Jen. So thank you, everybody, for watching. May the force be with you, or the dark side, as it were.